Welcome to Of the Sacred podcast. This is your host, Wondesen. We live in a fast paced world, one where many of us no longer have the time to sit with long novels or dense philosophical works. Yet these classics still speak powerfully to our condition. That's why this podcast exists. By Fyodor Dostoevsky. Fyodor Dostoevsky was a Russian novelist, short story writer, and essayist whose explorations of psychology, morality, and faith profoundly influenced world literature and philosophy. His intense portrayals of guilt, redemption, and free will helped shape modern existential thought and narrative psychology. Let's begin. The Brothers Karamazov is not simply a novel. It is a courtroom for the human soul. Written by Fyodor Dostoevsky near the end of his life, this book confronts the deepest questions a human being can ask. Does God exist? Is morality possible without Him? And if we are free, why do we suffer? This is not a story you read quickly, but its central ideas can change the way you see faith, guilt, and responsibility. At the center of the novel is a deeply broken family. Fyodor Karamazov, the father, is corrupt, selfish, and morally empty. His three sons represent three competing responses to the human condition. Dmitri, the oldest, is a passion, impulse, desire, guilt. Ivan, the middle child, is an intellect, reason, skepticism, rebellion. Alyosha, the last and the youngest, is faith, humility, love, spiritual hope. Dostoevsky does not present heroes and villains. He presents worldviews, each incomplete, each dangerous when taken alone. Ivan and the problem of evil. Ivan Karamazov, the middle child, asks one of the most disturbing questions in all of literature. He asks, if God exists, why does innocent suffering, especially the suffering of children, exist? Ivan does not deny God outright. He returns the ticket. He refuses a world where harmony is purchased at the cost of innocent pain. This is not atheism born of arrogance. This is not the atheism of people like Richard Dawkins, It's a moral protest. Ivan's protest is a moral protest, or Ivan's atheism is a moral atheism. Not like scientific atheism like Richard Dawkins or people like that. And Dostoevsky allows Ivan's argument to stand, unresolved, heavy, and terrifying. Here, the Grand Inquisitor comes in. Within the novel lies one of the most famous philosophical parables ever written. This is my favorite part of the book. It's the Grand Inquisitor, where Jesus Christ returns to earth and is imprisoned by the church. Only Dostoevsky, as someone said, leaves a grand work, a majestic work like this, only as part of a book, not a book by itself. If other writers find this, they will make an entire book out of it, maybe an entire library, I don't know. But only Dostoevsky shoves it, under another book, under another title. So, in this part of the Brothers Karamazov, Christ returns to earth and is imprisoned by the church. Why? Because humanity, the Inquisitor argues, does not want freedom. It wants bread, certainty, and authority. How true that is. It still reflects to modern society. Humanity wants bread, certainty, and authority. Freedom is a burden for humanity. And institutions often choose control over love, order over truth. This passage alone has shaped theology, political philosophy, and modern critics of power. The youngest child, Alyosha, in active love. Against despair and rebellion stands Alyosha. He does not argue, he does not judge, he does not hate, he does not dominate. He practices what Dostoevsky calls active love, love expressed through responsibility, forgiveness, and presence. Alyosha's faith is not naive optimism. Some people may take that as idiotic optimism or simplistic optimism, but it's a choice to carry suffering with others rather than explain it away. This is a prototype of Jesus Christ. I believe Dostoevsky wants to portray Jesus Christ in this small character Alyosha. I believe this goes along with Yeshua, the character Yeshua in the book The Masters and Margarita. He seems to be a very simple, naive person, but his moral and his character are grandeur and majestic. Dostoevsky proposes something radical here. Redemption does not come through logic alone, but through compassion lived daily. This also reminds me of Thomas Aquinas' argument that you cannot know God because of reason, or only through reason, but you have to know God through love and faith. Guilt and moral responsibility. One of the novel's most unsettling claims is this: we are all responsible for everyone. Not legally, not directly, but morally. Evil does not require monsters, it only requires indifference. This is so profound. In the Brothers Karamazov, guilt spreads beyond the criminal act. It becomes a shared human condition. This book does not give answers, it gives weight. It asks whether faith can survive reason, whether love can survive suffering, and whether freedom is worth its cost. The Brothers Karamazov insists on one truth: to be human is to wrestle with God, with others, and with oneself. And that struggle is sacred. You have been listening to Of the Sacred podcast. If this reflection spoke to you, subscribe to Of the Sacred podcast for concise insights into classic literature, art, philosophy, and sacred questions for people in a hurry. Your support keeps these conversations alive. Thank you.